Hey folks, this is Steve with Nonprofit Ally, and today I'm going to talk a bit about fundraising. In fact, I'm going to talk about a particular type of fundraising, and I'm actually going to try to persuade you not to do this type of fundraiser. It's a pretty common form of fundraising, but it results in a minimal amount of funds actually raised and a pretty significant amount of time invested. So your return on investment, your ROI is pretty minimal in this type of fundraiser. And so without further ado, the fundraiser I am truly just don't want you to do is the bake sale. Yes, it's an American classic, but you're going to make maybe just a couple $100. The only time I would suggest doing a bake sale is if you are a brand new, and I mean a brand new nonprofit, and you are an animal rescue and you have a pet up for adoption and you have to spay or neuter it. Then possibly I would suggest go ahead and do that bake sale. Or if you're a Little League team and you're raising money for uniforms, go ahead and do that. But if you are a nonprofit that's looking into the future, who's looking to grow your mailing list and your supporters, take the amount of time that you would invest in that bake sale and invest it in something that's going to be building your future. Let's break it down a little bit. A bake sale, right? So you got to go out and you have to buy the baking goods. You have to drive there. You have to come home. You have to bake it. Then you have to set up your booth wherever you're at. And then you have to have people at that booth. And then you have to clean up. You go home and then you clean all those pots and pans that you took there. You're talking 4 hours of personal time invested per person, and you possibly have 4 people doing it. So 4 people investing 4 hours into a fundraiser that, if you're lucky, you generate $300. There's a better way to take those people and to take that amount of time they're willing to volunteer and put it, there's a better way to use that. And so here's some ideas for you. First of all, think long term. You are trying to build a base of supporters and a base of volunteers who feel like their time is going towards something, like they're investing in your nonprofits, right? And so there's a couple things I would do. One, if you want to do a fundraiser and you have 4 people who are willing to put 4 hours of work in each, do a crowdfunding campaign. 4 people doing 4 hours of work, you can space that out over a period of time and give them each individual jobs. Maybe one is posting to your social media site, and one is doing emails, and one person is sending thank you cards, and the other person might be doing phone calls. That's a nice sized team doing a variety of things, and that is going to, 1, help you get donations, and 2, show appreciation to those who are donating to you. So 4 people with 4 hours of time each. If you weren't doing a fundraising campaign and you just wanted to build your base and make sure people knew who you were, have them break down their time like this. How about 15 minutes of emailing once a week? I'm going to email friends or other organizations or schools or clubs, whatever, right? 15 minutes of emailing. That's maybe 5, 10 emails in a cut and paste type of email message. And 15 minutes of social media sharing, liking other pages, posting on other pages, sharing their pages with other pages, sharing your nonprofit's post on their own Facebook timeline. So there you go, 15 minutes of emailing and 15 minutes of social media sharing. That's a half hour. How about doing that 4 weeks in a row? Actually, no, wait, even longer than that, 8 weeks in a row, 4 hours of work, right? So there's a long-term investment that will slowly add followers and awareness about what you're doing. How about a half hour of phone calling once a week for multiple weeks? A half hour of calling radio stations, or a half hour of calling the newspaper, of sending out PSAs, a half hour of calling people and thanking them. You can call potential sponsors or potential donors. That half hour phone calls could be 3 or 4 contacts that you make each week for multiple weeks. So a half hour each week, 4 hours. So there's 2 months of phone calls. Every Monday from 4 to 4:30, I am going to call a different school and tell them about our programs and say that we're willing to come into their classroom with our executive director to explain the services we do for X, Y, and Z, right? So there you're building a base, you're building a following, you're spreading the word about your organization so that if you ever do a bake sale, please don't do bake sales, but if you ever did, you have more people who know who you are because you've spent the time investing in outreach, investing in marketing, investing in letting people know who you are. Here's another way. Let's say you had someone who wanted to give you 4 hours of volunteer time. Take that person and give them postcards, and they're going to write hand thank yous on each postcard, and they can be pre-addressed, and it's going out to 100 donors that had donated to you. Well, there's a couple hours of volunteer time for somebody. A handwritten thank you postcard. So you can see there's just be creative with that. Realize that a fundraiser done without long-term intentions, without the idea that you're actually going to be building your mailing list or building a base or building a following or building supporters, it's kind of like, well, here's a couple dollars, it's nice seeing you, and you'll probably never hear from them again. You want people who are invested in your organization. The best way for you to do that is to educate them, to teach them what you're doing, how it helps the community, and how they can be involved, how they can become involved in the stuff that you're doing. Now, let's say you're just really stuck on this idea. They really want to do bake sales because you have some bakers there and they bake really good stuff. And so keep in mind, a bake sale is not going to generate hundreds and hundreds of dollars, right? It's not going to be a $1,000 day. I know there's going to be people who are going to email me right away and say, I've made $1,000 in their bake sale, etc. But for the most part, that's not a long-term goal. You're not going to be sustainable doing bake sales. But you could have a bake sale awareness campaign. How about a bake sale? Now I'm promoting bake sales. I know it sounds funny, but the bake sale is not the point. The point is promotion. If you were going to do a bake sale once a week for 6 weeks straight at a different place that was either relevant to what your mission is or served people that you served, or was just a high population area, the entry to a supermarket, or Petco if you're working with animals, or whatever, right? And you did a tour, a bake sale tour. And the point of the bake sale was not to make money, not to sell cookies and biscuits and cupcakes. But the point of the bake sale was to get information into people's hands and engage them in a conversation about the services you provide. Then you are generating something that can develop into a long-term relationship. Don't give them a cookie, hand them a brochure with a business card, and have your mailing list there for them to sign up on your mailing list so that in a couple weeks when you send out your quarterly newsletter, they're on it and they'll remember the conversation they had with you and possibly the nice cookie that they got when they donated $2 to you. But the point is to make that long-term connection and build the relationships with your community. A bake sale, here's $2, I got my cookie, I did something good. They move on and it's done with. That exchange and that relationship doesn't build. So if you have volunteers who are willing to put the time in, then put them into that long-term plan. Well, what do we need to do? We need to build our mailing list. We need to prepare for the upcoming crowdfunding campaign. We need a video made. Take your video, do 1 hour of shooting of different things, interview people, and then maybe sit down with your editor and do 2 hours of editing, and boom, you got a 3 to 5 minute video that's ready to go on YouTube or Facebook or whatever mode of delivery that you're going to do. So be productive and be creative with that time. If you're going to invest that amount of time, 4 people, for 4 hours each, don't just do it on something that's going to generate a couple $100 and a smile. Generate something that's going to be long-term, that's going to make people feel more good. It's going to make people feel better longer because they feel like they participated or they were a part of something, or they've learned something new and they're happy that it exists in their community and they want to know more about it and they want to become involved. The point is, bring them in, sit down and talk with them, whether that's through an email, a postcard, a phone call, a video, a share on social media, a like on social media, right? Develop a campaign around those volunteer hours. A bake sale is great. It's fun. It's a good day. You get to hang out with people and you meet a lot of people. But in the end, the return on investment isn't as great as something that is planned out. So what I guess I'm stressing here is if you're going to do a fundraiser, plan ahead. Now, crowdfunding is probably one of the best ways to do that. And so, like I said, that 4 hours, if I had 4 people that wanted to give me 4 hours, I'd put one in charge of social media, I'd put one in charge of doing emails, I'd put one in charge of all the thank you cards, and I'd probably put one in charge of phone calling. 4 hours of each of those spread out between 4 to 6 weeks would help greatly with any social media campaign. And then you, as the person running that social media campaign, crowdfunding campaign, as you running that crowdfunding campaign, you are then facilitating between these 4 people. You're delegating the responsibilities, but you're following up. You're giving them that content. Hey, I need you to send 20 emails out to local businesses. Let them know that we're doing this fundraiser and I've written the copy for you. Just cut and paste this in there and send it out to these 20 businesses, right? And respond to them when they reply. Give someone a script for phone calls, because you have to realize, I'm going to do 4 hours of phone calls. Let's say I do a half hour every Monday for 6 or 8 weeks, right? It's good to have a script. Not that you're going to sit there on the phone with someone and just read a script and, oh, sir, I'd like you to press and like this and do, not like that. But you got to realize 70% of the time you're going to get a voicemail. And so that script is going to help people be very fluent and very comfortable with what they're saying when they leave a message, and they'll be sure they cover all the points and that you're saying thank you and you're expressing what it is you're doing, and you're giving your contact information, your call to action, right? So there's many ways to invest that time that's going to be more productive to your nonprofit's long-term future. It's going to be, you're investing in yourself. So take those 4 people and those 4 hours and use it wisely. I think that's really all I wanted to say. So not to get down on the bake sale, because I grew up with bake sales and they were great, but nowadays there's too many other ways to get more out of that time and those people feel more appreciated. They'll feel, the people volunteering their time will be more invested. They'll feel like they're doing more for your organization long term than if they're just doing a bake sale and having that brief interaction. Those weekly phone calls or thank you cards are going to make them feel more invested and more proud of what they're doing than selling cookies at the grocery store. So just be wise about it. Think ahead and plan, right? It's much better to invest in your future than get the quick shot in the arm of a couple $100. Well, that's it, folks. That's really all I wanted to say. I hope that was helpful, and I hope that motivates you to think bigger than the bake sale. Think bigger than the bake sale. All right, folks. Thanks.